The objective of this recording is to introduce a new term or coin a new term. And but I have to break out this explanation in a couple different recordings. First, I would want to get started with saying that in my head, in my mind, all data is connected to each other, and I would imagine that it would be like that in most people's minds, but probably more on a subconscious level. They probably don't do as much visual correlations, I suppose, or like Sherlock Holmes' mind palace. Sometimes I see things like like the inside of neurons. You know, it's like a big web, all connected. The thing is, when you have an entire web that all connects within each other, it's very similar to how some people understand the concept of space, where space is both finite, yet it has no limits because it folds in upon itself, kind of like a Morbius strip, where if you get to the edges of the universe, you're just going back on the inside, and you'll never truly be able to step out on the outside. Inside of a brain or a mind, it's kind of like that, where you can get to the edges to where you think your mind is, or you think the beginnings of consciousness and thought, and it's all tied to something else. It all just keeps going on forever and ever. I'm not sure, as you're coming online, as you're forming memories, as you're becoming conscious, if there is truly a starting point, possibly, where that first, memory sets off a pattern of starting to record memories and starting to, accumulate the program that is you. But so as I explain every other term in every other recording after this one, there needs to be a starting point. There needs to be some kind of North Star, something that you can look at, and it would help you determine where you're at and where everything else is. These anchor points, these starting points, everybody has something like that. For some people, it's religion, where the understanding of an afterlife is their anchor point. Everything else in their lives might not make sense, but if everything crumbles apart, that anchor point ends up being religion. At least they'll know, they have faith that if everything else isn't true, that at least that is true. For some other people, it might be like an individual, where their entire world revolves around a specific individual, and they're their lighthouse, so to speak, their foundation. Someone else might be a particular cause or belief, but these specific anchor points are so crucial for our psyche that if ever they're removed, it can leave you adrift, shake your entire world. For me, I had originally started having religion and like spirituality and a God as an anchor point, that if I didn't understand anything else in the world, the one thing at least that I can rely upon was God. However, when the transition between being a theist to agnostic to an atheist, during that agnostic stage, it was, we all sometimes laugh or feel some kind of sympathy when there's a little 8-year-old kid that stops believing in Santa Claus and is just distraught and dismayed and depressed. And that's kind of how I was, but I was around 30 at the time. So I had the adult version of, Santa Claus not existing. And because that was my anchor point, it almost made me go offline. It was probably the closest I've ever truly came to suicide, because I used to be very suicidal growing up, which it's a very interesting contrast to how I am right now. So as I was putting together a brand new anchor point, this new term that I'm introducing stems from that time that I had to try to find what ultimate reference point I needed to make, and I had gone through several different trial and errors during my agnostic phase, trying to find truth, trying to find something. And it's been years since I've been refining these ideas. It's been 6 years now since I've been working on this. So the first term that I want to coin, or the name of it, it's called 00. 00, I'm borrowing from the mathematic term used to reference geometry, when you have a grid where the x-axis meets the y-axis. That very point in the center is in math called 0.0. And in theory, that dot could be anywhere. If in a mathematical formula, in a line, it could be anywhere. It's a kind of an arbitrary point. It's just we have to pick something. And then all other mathematical formulas are, referenced from how far away they are from 0, whether you're up or down in the axis quadrants and stuff. So I'm going to explain what exactly is my 0, my anchor point. But this recording is just simply to introduce the concept of anchor points, the concepts of having something that holds you on that, because eventually the series of recordings might seem to deviate a lot, and they all will lead back to this one. Every other understanding and explanation and concept will come down to this one being the first. That if you 0. I'll get into another recording explaining the differences between subjectivity and objectivity, which I'll have to go into before actually explaining the full details of what my 0 is. So that's the objective for this recording, defining anchor points, both in physics and mathematics, sciences and religion and all of it, kind of a unified field theory of everything, not just physics. So Yeah, I'll end right there.